the Night King storyline that had been building up for several seasons really didn't seem to go anywhere. There's a lot of controversies here all over the place, right? Arya being the one that killed the Night King and things like that, but I'm going to concentrate on Bran. And probably one of the major things fans were frustrated by was that Bran really doesn't do very much during all of Season 8, which is what makes him being chosen as king really bizarre. He didn't seem to really earn it. He just was there. So some fans have been speculating that there was some kind of linkage or connection between the Night King and Bran, and and again, people not necessarily who were on the side of D&D, but who basically wanted to understand the story better, kind of speculated that maybe there's like kind of esoteric or weird reading of it, where maybe the Bran we see at the end is not really Bran, maybe the Night King took over his body, or maybe they melded, or there's just a lot of different little theories to try to make sense of the story, because as it stands, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, if Bran has all this power, why did he do so little? Maybe he did more than we thought, maybe he manipulated people behind the scenes, maybe they have a much more clever story. Okay, so that's the context, and basically we now get some revelations where they do kind of explain what happened. It's just not very good. Now, I myself am not pro or anti-Bran, so it's not a big controversy to me, but I know some people really spent time on this thinking through. There had to really be more to the story, and unfortunately, I have to reveal there's really nothing there. This is what they explain. So what happens is the Night King basically intruded upon Bran during one of his visions. And what they explain is this, that essentially the Night King kind of interrupted Bran's training. So when we see Bran in Season 8, he's not fully powered. He hasn't completed his training, so he can't do very much because he's not fully trained. Now, the obvious problem with this is that we do see him use his powers a lot. In fact, he used his powers in the Littlefinger story, which I'm not going to spoil in case you don't remember or haven't seen it yet. So we do see him using his power in various places, and it's still pretty powerful. I mean, he can warg, he can move over large spaces of time and space. So he has some abilities, but the way they explain it is, yes, he has some abilities, and this is where it gets really bizarre or silly, and they used Luke Skywalker as an analogy, saying, well, you know, when Luke faced Vader in Empire Strikes Back, he couldn't defeat him because he didn't complete his training. We're not going to get into that controversy, but obviously you think to yourself, okay, right? I mean, you understand what they're trying to say is that the person doesn't have full control of their powers, but the criticism is he didn't do anything. I mean, he just really literally sat around. He just said a few things. He may have, I don't know, tried to give coded messages, but Bran really was very, very inactive at the very end. So maybe the training argument makes sense, but I think like most things they did, it still really doesn't explain the kind of faults in the storyline. But if you were curious about the Bran storyline and why it ended up the way it did, they did kind of explain themselves, saying, well, he didn't really complete his training, so you can't be mad because, you know, he can only do so much. He did some things, right? He at least alerted them that the Night King was coming, and there you go. There's still a lot of kind of plot holes in terms of how that happened. Like, how did the Night King even sense Bran? Like, why would he be able to touch Bran? Like, why did he even have any link? If, you know, they just left still a lot unexplained. The Night King just is going to go to Westeros. But why is he going to Westeros? Why doesn't he feel the need to do this? Yeah, they don't really explain that. So it's one of those weird things where they at least are responding. They did recognize this was a big plot hole, but I guess in their eyes, the script kind of implied the whole no training thing. So it was our fault for trying to make it more than it was. It was like Bran was never meant to be the kind of savior of Westeros or of the Seven Kingdoms. So there you go. That's their response to the plot hole issue in Season 8 with Bran. I don't think it makes a lot of sense, and the Star Wars analogy just makes it a whole lot worse. But there we are. All right, this has been Garment Thrones Analyzed on the Bran controversy in Season 8. If you like the content, please hit the like button and or subscribe. Please comment below. Thank you for listening. Please consider supporting the work on Patreon. Have a good day.